Hey, what's up everybody? Hope you all are having a great day today. Today we are going to be talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare and the second beta that went on for all platforms, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and also the PC. Now remember, while you're listening to this commentary, I am a PC player. So some of my opinions might vary from here to there because things do play differently on both platforms, whether you are a PC player or if you play on the console side. But I think with my list, I have come up with a lot of good points that will both work for console and PC, so we can pretty much all either agree or disagree on some of the things that I have said in this list. And also, before we dig in deep to all the details, I just want to point out that everybody has their own opinions. So be completely open to voice how you felt about the beta down in the comments section. I love to see what everybody has to say and how everybody has a different take on it. But first up on the list, and I'm sorry to start this off so negatively, but some extremely important news dropped about Call of Duty Modern Warfare when they showed off the campaign trailer, which actually looks pretty much beautiful, gorgeous. I am so pumped to try this out, and just like any other campaign that's directed by Treyarch or Infinity Ward, I will probably enjoy it, besides Black Ops 3. That was just, I could not get into Black Ops 3 campaign. But then they talk about Spec Ops, which will be coming to all platforms, PC, PS4, Xbox, which I am also very excited about, but they didn't show any gameplay. But then they also stated that Survival is going to be exclusive to the PlayStation 4 for a full year. Now I understand a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month, but they are waiting until October 2020, a complete year from now. By this time, there will be another Call of Duty game coming out, Black Ops 5. Who the hell is going to be still playing this game just to play Survival? It's just not happening. Nobody's going to come back to that. Well, maybe I'm over-exaggerating. I feel like some people might want to come back and give it a shot. But for content-wise, nah, it's not happening. Everybody's going to already see what it actually looks like. Even for people who don't create content. Just the people at home who are playing this game with their friends. It just kills the whole vibe. The whole thing with this game is crossplay. And that's another thing I want to talk about in this review as well, because this got some pretty massive points for my score altogether. Just because it has crossplay, that is outstanding. And because crossplay is added into the game now, Call of Duty, other games are going to have to come along. Other games are going to have to try this out. Or else they'll fall back in trends, and whoever decides to put crossplay in their games will branch out and more people will want to play that game. Because the one thing that can make a game so great is being able to play it with your friends and to have that experience together. So let's say your friends are all scattered across PC, Xbox, and PS4. That's me. That's my situation as well. A lot of my friends that I know from in real life are on console. I can't play with them. But for the first time in years, I was able to load up Call of Duty Modern Warfare, a Call of Duty game, just like we played in the old days, and we actually were able to squad up and play matches together. Regardless if you think the game is complete trash or if it's amazing, that is a perfect feature. And seriously, that will bring more customers to your game than anything else. But you're scrapping the survival mode, which will be perfect for a lot of people to play together. I love survival in MW3. Even though it wasn't something that I did so often, it was a nice thing to relax and play. FPS games can get kind of tedious at times, so it's nice to have fallback things to play. I always play a bunch of other titles out there. I don't just play Call of Duty Battlefield and all the other FPS games. I do play other games as well. I just don't play them as often. But when FPS games get boring, it's nice to have fallback things that you can play that you can just relax and not stress about it too much. And survival is one of those things that you could just chill. Whether you're too tired to do anything else and you just want to relax and play a game, survival is a perfect game mode for that. It's just sad to see that they're scrapping a whole game mode for the full year. Like, this is a game mode. And it's not even like it's coming out a week, like I said earlier, a week, 2 weeks, or a month later. No, this is a full year that you're going without survival in this game. All I gotta say is that the Battle Royale better be literally the best Battle Royale I've ever played, if you want to make up for taking a complete game mode out of the game. Alright guys, those are pretty much the longest points that I had on this list. Now I should be going a little bit more fast-paced. First off, the minimap is amazing. I like that the minimap is back in the game, but I also love that you don't show up on the minimap. Now, a lot of people I don't think in the Call of Duty community are adjusted to it yet, but just give it some time. If you're still not getting a hang of it, I would say maybe a month, or maybe like 2 weeks after the release of the game, you'll start getting used to not seeing the enemies on the minimap when they shoot their guns. It still shows you the map, the areas, the buildings that you can go in, where your teammates are around the map. It helps you pinpoint spawns a little bit better. If you show up on the minimap, you have to think your plays out a little bit more than you do when you don't show up on the minimap. So now when I shoot an unsilenced weapon off and I'm trying to run and gun, I don't have to watch where I move. It makes things pretty handy and really fast paced. So I'm going to say I really love the way that the minimap is in this game. I hope they keep it exactly the same when the game releases. But with the introduction of this minimap, the perk Ghost has to change. Now I'm also going to talk about this topic as well. I might as well, since I'm already talking about this. The next point that I was going to make is that the maps are a little confusing to a lot of Call of Duty players. Now me personally, I don't mind big maps. I think they're pretty cool. But when you mix big maps with a more slower paced playstyle and movement and gameplay, and then on top of that, the Ghost perk, which was the good way in Call of Duty, is you had to move for it to be active. But now they made it you don't have to move for it to be active. It just adds on to the camp fest of the game. So there's two options. They either speed up the playstyle of the game, your gameplay, or the character speed, whatever you want to say. They change the map design, or they change Ghost. Now, the two of those options I know is not happening this far in production. So the last option, they gotta change Ghost. There's no other way around it. I don't like the way that they're using it. It just doesn't feel good, and I think the gameplay would be a lot more aggressive, especially in the larger scaled maps and game modes. But I do enjoy the maps. I think they're pretty cool. I like the design. I like that they're a little bit more difficult and hard to learn. But once you get the hang of them and you learn where enemies like to go, where they like to camp, where they like to head glitch, all the spots, it comes a bit easier. The gameplay mostly relies on spots of interest where a lot of people like to group up, buildings that have nice viewpoints down the street or things like that. So what I like to do to play a little bit more aggressive is I move from building to building. But in order to be aggressive, you have to know where people are going to be. If you just run in the middle of the street and you don't know where your next point is or the next area you want to push, or you don't know where the enemies are going to rotate from where they are, because remember, the minimap, they don't show them when they're shooting. So you have to have the knowledge of the actual map. So I'm not going to lie, I actually enjoy the maps. I think they're pretty interesting. I don't know. In the next Call of Duty game, I would like to see a return of more classic styled maps, maybe more open maps, like Modern Warfare 2 styled maps. Like Afghan was perfect. It was a massive map, but it had a good flow to it. The maps in Modern Warfare are definitely way different than any Call of Duty map design we have seen, I think, ever, honestly. Which I gotta give them some respect for actually coming up with these maps and actually having a interesting flow to it. But camping does get pretty hefty on them. It's a little rough, so I would like to see a return of the older styled big maps, but this was still a nice little change in pace. The next point I made is that the larger scaled game modes are 10 times better in this game. Now, I just was talking about the maps being pretty cool, but I only like the maps in 10v10 and 32 versus 32. Don't get me wrong, the ones they showed us in the beta for 6v6, some of them had pretty cool concepts, but the flow of them were very slow. It's not even a Battlefield pace to them, which a lot of people like to compare it to Battlefield. Battlefield is a lot more strategic. There's a lot more teamwork that's involved than any Call of Duty game. And you don't run into issues where you don't know where enemies are at. Now in Modern Warfare, I know the maps in 6v6. I've played the game a lot. I put tons of hours into it. But for some reason, I just can't still understand the flow of any of the 6v6 maps. The only one I can understand is the cave one, because everybody likes to hold down the cave, so it's kind of easy to pinpoint where they are. But the other maps just always had me running around in circles and spending so much time hunting players instead of actually engaging in a gunfight or, you know, sending shots off and having some return fire. I didn't get into much action. But when you hop into game modes like 10v10 and 32 versus 32, the player count definitely fits the maps a lot better. Now, it's not your traditional Call of Duty styled gameplay from 6v6. And a lot of people like to compare it again, like I said, to Battlefield, the larger scale, like 32 versus 32 and 10v10. But I can tell you this now, it's as far as it could be for Battlefield. Battlefield just has a flow to it, a front lines, where you and your team push as a group, a unit. In Call of Duty Modern Warfare, all the large-scaled game modes, there's no teamwork. It's literally just, it's 6v6, just double, triple the player count so you can just go on even higher kill streaks and higher kill chains and stuff. I don't think Infinity Ward had any intent on making this game anywhere close to Battlefield when it came to their larger scaled game modes. I think they just took the basic concept from Conquest and twisted it into the Call of Duty style. Just because Conquest fits a 32 versus 32 game mode a lot better than any other game mode. And I guess the movement is kind of like Battlefield 4 or 3. But it still plays like COD. It's hectic. There's still people being weird and camping everywhere. There's people running and gunning. But I can tell you that nobody plays as a team. So honestly, if you want to have a good experience with this game, I highly suggest, unless they bring in some, different sized maps into 6v6, but I highly suggest spending the majority of your time in the larger scaled game modes if you're craving some action. If you don't mind the more slow tactical gameplay, then by all means, you can play in 6v6. But talking a little bit about the large scaled game modes, in Ground War you're allowed to have vehicles. Now, I have a little bit of an issue with vehicles and kill streaks combined, and a lot of other YouTubers do as well. It's just too much. It's way too much. You have to pick and choose one or the other. Now, this is hard for me. This is hard for me because I wouldn't mind just keeping the kill streaks to 10v10 and 6v6 since there's no vehicles and it kind of fits a little bit better. But in Ground War, getting these nasty streaks is just awesome. It's tons of fun and they get so many kills. But then on top of that, you have people driving around in tanks just blowing you to bits. And the respawn rate on these tanks are just insane. So they either have to drastically drop the rate that the tanks spawn in, like maybe one tank every 3 to 5 minutes, like half the game, so we never see a tank again and then some more tanks come in, or they just completely scrap the vehicle concept and keep it a traditional Call of Duty style. I do hope we see a lot more maps, like, for example, Operation Lockers from Battlefield 4. I hope we see maps that are 64 players in Modern Warfare, but specifically catered to infantry gameplay where vehicles aren't an issue. Because I feel like those maps would definitely play out a little bit better than the ones with the vehicles in it. But if there is no maps like that, then they're going to just have to decide. Because the people who want vehicles, they don't want kill streaks. The people who want kill streaks, they don't want vehicles. It's going to have to go one way or the other. Another thing about Modern Warfare is just the skill-based matchmaking. I'm not that big of a fan of it. They just had to tune it down just a little bit and let players just play in some more casual lobbies. Don't completely go casual where it's potatoes playing, but I feel like every match is either insanely close or a total sweat fest. Which I don't mind competition. I always enjoy having some competition while playing Call of Duty from time to time. But like I said, just from time to time, I still enjoy hopping on COD to have some fun matches. Especially for YouTube content and content creators out there. Nobody wants to watch a complete sweatfest 24/7. People like to watch run and gun, fast-paced, just some fun gameplay of what they're watching. And sometimes it's just very hard to get that gameplay. So they need to tune down the skill-based matchmaking just a teeny weeny bit. That's it. Next is the Claymores. These things either need to be completely reworked or they need to be taken out of the game completely. Because in game modes like 32 versus 32 and 10v10, they're everywhere. That's all people use to hold down objectives. If you go into a building in 32 versus 32 where it's near the B or C flag or I think D flag as well, if you go anywhere near there, there's claymores scattered all around the building. You'll easily find about 5 to 10 claymores in one building. It's actually that crazy. You'd be surprised, especially near the C flag, which kind of forces you to use the perk slot. I forget what it's called. I think it's Spotted in the third perk slot where you can see equipment, which I use on all of my classes now. It's pretty much a necessary perk. You need to run it every single time. Because even in small game modes like 6v6, they're just broken. You can't even out-dodge them. They explode right away. There's no click, there's no nothing that warns you. If you run into anywhere close to the red lines, it will blow up and kill you. And the blast radius is absolutely absurd. They can kill you from so far, it just blows my mind. So they either had to remove these things or just tweak them a little bit. At least give it a click like the older CODs so we know and we can back up, or we can intentionally try to, trigger a claymore back up and then run around. The only way you can take out a claymore is by shooting it, and pray to God you're not close enough that it destroys you. Something positive for you guys, just to switch it up a bit, is I love the double sprint feature. in this game. The regular sprint is a bit slow from here to there, and it looks like you actually slow down a lot more if you double sprint and then go back to regular sprint and continue sprinting. It looks like you kind of slow down a bit, but I just love how fast you run with double sprint. It's really awesome. Also, in the 10v10 game mode, I think they should add in the same feature that they have in the 32 versus 32 ground war, and that is being able to spawn in on your teammates. I don't think it's really right that you have to run all the way from the spawn again in the 10v10. I think it would work in Domination. In Headquarters, you can just spawn in, but when you're playing Domination and it's A, B, and C, and you have to spawn all the way back at your home flag, it gets kind of annoying to get back into the action at certain points. Maybe that's too much, I don't know. I would like to see it tested just to give it a try, to see if it, fastens up the pace a little bit and just creates more chaos and action. But I think that would be a little bit nicer. Another thing I jotted down about this game that was a little harsh is the visibility. It's really bad in this game. Like, you can blend in with anything, whether you camp in a dark corner or in a bush, you will blend in very nicely. Which in a fast-paced Call of Duty game, a game that's all about Twitch shooting, I don't think that's the best idea and concept. So either they have to lighten up rooms or maybe even lighten up the actual character models. Whatever option they decide to go with, they have to kind of fix this up. I don't know how, but it's very hard to actually see and get into contacts with enemies. Also, the spawns of Ground War, straight doo-doo. Absolute trash. It's a fun game mode, don't get me wrong, but when you go near C flag or B flag or any of those type of flags, it turns into chaos where the enemies actually spawn on you. It doesn't even have any, actual common sense to it. You can literally stand behind a spawn point and people will continuously spawn on there, and you could smack them in the back of the head every time they come in. It's pretty bad. But Infinity Ward did address it and say they will have it fixed by launch, so hopefully it is, and hopefully it plays just not a little bit better, a lot better than what it did in the beta. Also, the streaks could shoot through the roofs in that Ground War map. So I think it was near C flag they could shoot through, which was kind of really annoying. I couldn't move anywhere. I would spawn and instantly get destroyed by a VTOL, so I hope they fix that as well. And for gun changes, the M4 definitely has to be looked at. It is probably the most overpowered gun in the beta. Everybody wanted to use it, and even though the M13 is a competitor, the M4 completely runs the show. It could outgun any AR, SMG, even a sniper rifle. You name it, it can outgun. Also, seriously, deployable shields, I'm getting kind of annoyed with these things. I feel like they should be removed from the game, especially in a game like this where the maps are pretty much tactical enough. You can find cover in many buildings. I don't see why you would need a deployable shield for anything in this game. So I seriously think they should take it out, because in Ground War, it gets very annoying versing people who camp by the flags, but not actually on the flags, camping in the corner, gunning people down as they... Nah, I just don't like the deployable shields, and they can mount on them and everything, so they have no recoil. I'm not a big fan. Doors are also probably one of the best things I've ever seen implemented into Call of Duty. I'm a big fan of these. And even though I know a lot of Call of Duty fans absolutely hate this because it kind of slows down the pace, I just think they're cool. I like being able to crack them open and peek through, or you can crack it open a tiny bit and just peek through and not even go through the door. You can open it normally, you can bash through it. I enjoy that. Two things though, I think that the bashing noise when you go through it should definitely be turned down just a bit, and then the normal opening sounds almost just as bad as the bashing noise, so you need to definitely tune down just, a regular door open. Also, when the doors are completely open, if you're running past it, you should not be able to connect, because I run into issues where I'm running through a door that's already open, and it smacks the complete opposite way, like it's opening again, and makes the loud bashing noise when it's already open. It's very annoying. It needs to be fixed, and you shouldn't even be able to smack it open when you're running at it while it's already open. You should have to close it, reopen, or whatever. But if it's already open, you shouldn't be able to come in the opposite direction and reopen it by bashing into it. It's already open. Why would you need to open it again? Also, I noticed while peeking through doors, if you are peeking through and the door looks like it's completely open, and you're out of the door and you start running, it will still make the bashing noise. While you're running away and you're not even close to the door, it will just make the noise. So please fix that glitch as well. It's kind of annoying. And the last thing that I have to say about this beta, and remember it is a beta, so some of these are going to be changed, but the hit detection, Lord almighty, it's something else in this game. There's been times where my red dot is completely on an enemy. I unload a half a clip, and I feel like over half of the shots don't even register. And I'm wondering to myself, What did I just shoot? I could not have shot anything else besides the enemy. So please, Lord Almighty, fix the hit detection. That is a must-do, Infinity Ward. For this game, too, the gunplay is so good. So don't ruin a perfectly good gunplay game with bad hit detection. But overall, guys, I was really feeling this game. I enjoyed the beta. I had tons of fun, especially with my friends. It was great seeing a lot of them after years and years of not being able to play with them. So I'm going to give this beta an 8 out of 10. But seriously, I had that much fun. And even though it didn't really play like Call of Duty, and certain aspects of it just were completely off, the 10v10 and the 32 versus 32 game modes are easily going to be enough for me to make it through the year. As long as they continuously add support for these modes, as well as the 6v6, continuously add maps and make sure bugs, glitches get polished off in these maps, and they don't just completely push it aside, I think these will easily push me through to the end of this game. 6v6 I might revisit, I don't know. I just prefer the larger scaled modes. I'd rather play 10v10. 10v10 might be my favorite, hands down, if I want a more traditional ground war styled gameplay. But then if I really want chaos and some really insane clips, I'll go over to ground war 32 versus 32. But getting good clips for YouTube isn't really going to happen in 6v6. It's too slow, guys. It's way too slow. It's fun. I play it off when I'm not recording, and I will record some of it just to put on the channel, but I don't know. 10v10 is definitely the way. But for me, I definitely had a blast. There was bugs, there was glitches, but remember, this is a beta. But in the final release, if it's just as bad as the beta, trust me, the score is going to go definitely lower. And as well with the survival, I'm not going to let that affect my score for the beta, since survival isn't in the beta. But for the release game, we're going to see how they handle all of that nonsense. If they keep it the way it is, it might be affecting the score a little bit there. I was looking more towards like a 7 and a 7.5, just because the game was that buggy and it was weird and the spawns were really aggravating and it drove me actually bonkers. But because I had crossplay and it allowed me to reunite with some people that I really missed playing with, I gotta give it a whole extra point. So thank you, Infinity Ward, seriously. That was a really nice treat, being able to play with all those people. And also seeing the community as one, seeing PC players, Xbox players, PS4 players, all in one lobby. You can see who's on what platform. The trash talk that was going around was crazy. Some was hilarious, some was, irritating. But that's what Call of Duty always was, it always will be. And it was good seeing that again. I'm excited to see this game when it releases. I am really excited to make content about this game. The gunsmith. Oh my goodness, I almost forgot about that. What is it, gunsmith, gun bench, whatever it is, the customization in this game is top tier. How did I forget this? This is like my favorite part about this game. But my favorite part about this game is going to be the very last thing. I hope they add this into every Call of Duty game ever made in history again, unless they just improve on this concept. But the amount of attachments that you can put on your gun, I guess I should say being allowed to put 5 attachments on your gun no matter what. I like doing that. I like just mixing and matching different things on my weapon to change stats, change the way it plays, change the way it works, and it actually does change the weapon. Different attachments change the recoil patterns. Different attachments change how fast you ADS. Different attachments change your movement speed. It's so many things in this game that can change your gameplay with each weapon. It's way too much variety. That's another reason that completely put it to an 8 for me. Like, that is amazing to see in a Call of Duty game, and I had tons of fun with it. But let me know your guys' score down below in the comment section, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another video. Sorry if this one's just a little bit long. I had a lot of stuff that I want to talk about for this game. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and hit that bell notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.